This audiobook is not meant to change your life. It is meant to remind you of the blueprint that already contains it all. You were not born to chase desires. You were born to remember that desire is the language of your design. Before speech, there was vibration. Before vibration, there was silence. And before silence, there was you as the origin principle itself. This is the divine memory that transforms your reality. Welcome home. Chapter 1. The Root of All Manifestation. Before you asked, you were answered. In the beginning, before the breath, before the word, before the prayer, there was a pulse. Not of heart, but of essence. Not of time, but of eternity's rhythm. And in that silence, you existed. Not as a seeker, not as a student, not even as a soul with form, but as a frequency, a pure echo of the divine mind, unburdened by questions, yet already embedded with answers. You are not here to learn manifestation. You are here to remember what you are made of. For long before you learned to want, long before you named your desires, long before you tried to attract a better life, you were the current of life itself. The secret is this: you were not designed to pursue your desires. Your desires were designed to pursue you. And so the law began not as a commandment, but as a pattern, an eternal architecture etched into the unseen blueprint of all that would ever be made manifest. The stars were spoken into place by this blueprint, the oceans given rhythm by its breath. The oak trees grew from it, the eagle soared because of it, and your heartbeat was tuned to it. You are not foreign to this law. You are its signature. So when you ask for abundance, when you visualize peace, when you speak healing over your body, you are not asking for a miracle. You are activating a memory. There is nothing new for the law to do. There is only something ancient for you to become. Even now, the very life you seek is circling you, orbiting your field, searching for a space to land. But here is the sacred reversal. Your desires are not delayed. Your frequency is distorted. You cannot manifest through desperation, for desperation is the signal of disbelief. You cannot force the law to give you what you are not yet aligned with, for the law is not a judge, it is a mirror. And so the question is not, what do I want? But rather, what part of me forgot that it's already mine? There was a woman once, named Elira, who lived at the edge of the forest where the stars seemed closer to the ground. She would rise before dawn every morning and speak a single word, yes, not to a specific thing, but to all things, to the wind, to the silence, to the unfolding mystery. And in her village, people whispered of strange things. Her garden bloomed out of season. She always had just enough to give, even when she gave too much. Birds nested near her windows and sang through the winter. When asked for her secret, she would only smile. I never asked for anything. I only remembered that it was already given. You see, Elira lived from the root, the sacred origin before the asking. And that origin is still alive in you. You were never designed to chase light. You are the sun. You were never designed to beg for blessings. You are the fertile ground in which blessings bloom. The law does not come when called. It responds when you remember who you are. Every morning you wake up and say, I want. You echo a frequency of distance. But every time you breathe into stillness and say, I am, you bring that which you seek into your orbit. You are the gravitational center of your life. And the law, it is simply gravity for the soul. So when you say, I desire peace, the universe asks, does your nervous system already match the vibration of peace? When you say, I desire wealth. The law answers, do you already carry the frequency of having? And when you say, I desire love, it whispers, have you remembered that you are love? This is not punishment. It is precision. The law does not bend to emotion. It bows to essence. This is why begging does not work. This is why force creates resistance. And this is why surrender unlocks miracles. Because when you stop trying to change reality and instead become its reflection, reality reorganizes around you. Like a tuning fork that vibrates without sound, your energy informs the universe more than your voice ever could. So the root of all manifestation is this: you were answered long before you asked. The question is, will you match the answer? And if you can sit in silence long enough, if you can soften your identity long enough, you will hear it. The soft, ancient yes that has been waiting beneath all your nose. It is still humming beneath your ribs. It is the original pulse, the first vibration, the origin principle of all creation. You are not calling something in. You are tuning something on. You are not praying for a sign. You are becoming the sign. You are not attracting a new life. You are remembering that it already exists, just on the frequency of your truest self. Now, become that. Once practice. Find a moment of absolute stillness, no sound, no movement, no intention. Close your eyes. Breathe as if the universe were breathing you. Now speak, just once, this sentence aloud. Before I asked, I was already answered. Let the words vibrate through you like a forgotten bell. Repeat once more this time, not to convince the universe, but to remind your being. Then fall into silence. Do not seek a sign. Do not search for sensation. Let the knowing rise quietly, like mist from sacred soil. This is the remembrance that reorders all things. Part 2. There is a knowing in your body that the mind cannot touch, a wisdom embedded in sinew and cell, in the quiet architecture of bone and breath. Long before you formed words, long before you learned limitation, your body moved in harmony with the cosmos. Your heart beat in rhythm with the moon. Your blood flowed in pulses that mirrored the tides. Your lungs inhaled not just air but memory, sacred, divine, ancestral memory. You did not come into this world as an empty vessel. You arrived as a coded blueprint, a living manuscript of the universe itself. And this is the mystery. Your body is not a container for the law. It is the law, written in the sacred ink of matter, shaped by intention, carried across time through bloodlines, dreams, and stardust. Every cell carries a song, and that song is the signature of your soul's original design. The origin principle was never something to learn. It was embedded in your breath, hidden in the movement of your fingers, whispered through your heartbeat in the stillest hours of night. But as you grew, as you absorbed the noise of the world, something quieted, something was pushed beneath layers of conditioning. The body, once alive with knowing, became a servant to the mind. The breath became shallow. The spine curled in defense. The voice forgot its sacred tone. You were taught to ask for permission, to beg for worth, to perform for love. And so the body, once fluent in divine rhythm, began to forget. Yet memory does not die, it only waits. And now, it is time to awaken what was never truly lost. Your body is not separate from your desire. It is the birthplace of it. It is not the vehicle of your manifestation. It is the compass. If your heart longs for love, it is because love is encoded into the fiber of your chest. If your belly aches for purpose, it is because purpose pulses in the center of your being. The longing you feel is not external, it is internal activation, an alarm clock buried in the flesh, finally going off. And so, manifestation must begin, not with a thought, but with a remembrance in the body. When you say, "I want to attract abundance," the law does not listen to your words. It listens to your spine. It listens to the breath you hold before speaking. It listens to the curl in your shoulders, the tightness in your jaw, the heaviness in your chest. It asks, "Does this body remember what abundance feels like?" And if the body does note, if it has been trained in scarcity, in defense, in collapse, then the desire is met not with punishment, but with delay. Not because the universe withholds, but because your vessel has not yet made room for the frequency you claim to want. There is no need to fight this. There is only a need to return. Begin with the breath. Close your eyes and inhale not just air, but memory. Imagine that with every breath in, you are pulling in the blueprint, the original code, the sacred architecture that was yours before the world taught you to forget. Let the breath stretch your ribs open. Let it rise through the spine like a serpent returning to the sun. Let your shoulders unfurl as if remembering the wings they once held. The body knows how to hold abundance. It did once. It can again. But it requires safety. It requires presence. It requires truth. You cannot lie to your body. You cannot speak affirmations of wealth while holding your breath in anxiety. You cannot chant "I am loved" while clenching your fists in defense. The law reads the vibration of your flesh before it reads the intention of your mind. There was once a man named Ryan. He lived in a stone house by the sea, quiet and weathered. For years he repeated the same affirmations: "I am successful, I am powerful, I am free." But nothing changed. His business stayed stagnant. His relationships fractured. His health declined. And one day, he stopped speaking. He sat by the sea, letting the waves speak instead. And as the wind moved across his skin, something ancient stirred in his body. His shoulders dropped. His breath deepened. His hands unclenched. And in that stillness, he wept not from grief, but from memory. He remembered who he had been before he forgot. And from that moment forward, his life began to shift. Not because he repeated louder affirmations, but because his body had become a match to the words he no longer needed to say. This is the hidden key. When the body remembers, the universe responds. The law does not require you to beg. It requires you to become. And becoming begins in the form, not the thought. So how do you allow the body to remember? You move with reverence. You breathe like the earth depends on it. You eat like your cells are temples. You rest like divinity has entered your bones. You speak only when your voice aligns with your truth. You touch your skin as if you are laying hands upon sacred ground. You walk not to get somewhere, but as if the path beneath your feet is folding itself in gratitude for your return. The body is not weak. It is not flawed. It is not separate. It is the first altar, the original place of worship. And when it remembers its holy nature, it becomes magnetic. It draws to itself all that matches its frequency, not through striving, but through stillness, not through control, but through coherence. So, when you wake tomorrow, do not start with a list of things to do. Start with the breath, with the spine, with the quiet stretch of fingers across bed sheets. Listen to what the body says before the mind interrupts. Where does it ache? Where does it feel light? What emotion is humming beneath the surface? Do not fix it, do not flee it. Feel it. For in feeling, you begin the return. The law of attraction does not begin in thought. It begins in embodiment. To attract peace, become peace in your nervous system. To attract love, become love in your hands. To attract abundance, become open in your posture. The universe is not ignoring you, is listening through your form. And when your form sings the original song again, all of creation will turn toward you not as a reward, but as a reflection. This is the deeper secret. You are not just a co-creator, you are the creation itself, the clay, the hand, and the fire. And your body remembers. Let it sing. Let it pulse. Let it return. You do not need to become anything new. You need only become what you once were, before forgetting. To build practice, find a private space where the world cannot reach you. Sit or lie down in complete stillness. Place both hands on your chest or belly. Breathe into your hands. Let the warmth remind your body it is safe. Now ask aloud, gently, "Body, what do you remember that I have forgotten?" Do not seek answers. Let feelings rise. Let images emerge. Let silence speak. Remain here for as long as the memory unfolds. Do not interrupt the return. This is the body's sacred remembering. And it is from here manifestation begins. Chapter 2. The Law Beneath the Laws. Part 1. The Silent Architect. There is a truth older than language, deeper than doctrine, more enduring than the stars. It moves not with the speed of thought, but with the weight of eternal silence. It does not announce itself with thunder or light. It arrives like a shadow at noon present, clear and undeniable, yet unnoticed by those too busy looking upward. This truth is not something you invoke. It is something you uncover, and once seen, it changes everything. Beneath all teachings, beneath every sacred scripture, behind every revelation, there is a singular presence, a force, a current, a silent architect that gives shape to every spiritual law without ever needing to be named. The law of attraction, the law of vibration, the law of assumption, these are but expressions, surface ripples upon a deeper sea. The source law is a doorway. But this is the ground that doorway stands upon. This is the stillness that makes every movement possible. It does not move, yet it moves all things. What if I told you the law you've studied is only the first layer of a deeper framework? That even vibration bows to something stiller? That even assumption arises from something more fundamental? This is not a contradiction. This is a deepening. The true creative power is not in the law, it is in that which the law serves. Imagine a river. It flows, fast and free, carving valleys, feeding life. This is the law in motion, precise, observable, powerful. But beneath the river is the riverbed. The hidden stone, unseen but essential. If the river is thought, then the bed beneath it is being. You cannot change the river by splashing in the water. You must shift the shape of the earth below it. That silent earth is the architect. It is not concerned with your wishes. It listens not to words, but to essence. It cares not what you say you want. It observes what you are when no one is watching. It responds not to effort, but to resonance. This is why your vision boards sometimes fail, why affirmations fall flat, why techniques grow stale. Because these are tools of the surface, fine and useful, but powerless if disconnected from the deeper alignment. You can repeat, "I am abundant," 1,000 times, but if the silent architect within you has not agreed, if your being is still carved with fear, with lack, with unworthiness, then the river will continue flowing in the shape it always has. The law manifests not what you say, but what you are. And what you are is written beneath thought. It lives in the roots, in the places you rarely touch. There was a girl named Myra, born into a home where nothing lasted. She watched food vanish from shelves, lights go out without warning, promises fade into smoke. As she grew, she devoured spiritual books, learned rituals, spoke affirmations. She whispered, "I am safe. I am secure." But her hands still trembled when she reached for money. Her breath still caught in her chest when she opened bills. She didn't know why, until the day she stopped speaking altogether. In that deep silence, she heard it not with ears, but with the marrow of her bones. A voice beneath all others, small but resolute. It's not safe to receive. It was not her voice. It was the voice of her inner architect, shaped long ago, carved by experiences she never chose. And yet when she heard it, truly heard it, something cracked open, not broken but released. And in that release, the riverbed shifted. Within days, the outer reality began to respond. Not because she had said it louder, but because she had remembered it deeper. You see, the silent architect within you is not an enemy. It is a protector. It is the keeper of your original agreements, the guardian of your blueprint. It will not let something new take root until it is certain that your foundation can hold it. And so, if you've struggled to manifest consistently, do not blame the universe. Do not question your worth. Instead, go deeper. Ask the architect, what shape have I given reality to flow through? Because the law does not decide, it obeys. Even the divine must follow the architecture you've set within. The blueprint may be invisible, but it governs every miracle, every synchronicity, every delay, every detour. Not as punishment, but as precision. This is the shift from manifesting through force to manifesting through alignment, from controlling outcomes to becoming the outcome, from fixing the surface to restructuring the root. The architect responds to presence. It listens to stillness. It is rewritten not through repetition but through revelation. And revelation begins when you stop trying to control the river and instead feel the shape of the ground beneath your feet. This is not about abandoning your tools. Use the affirmations. Speak your vision. Visualize your joy. But do so from within. Do so from the root. Let the words rise not from your lips, but from your silence. The deepest transformation requires not more effort, but more truth. And truth is what the architect builds with. You must become sacred soil. You must till the hidden ground. You must ask yourself not what you want, but what you've allowed to be true. Not what you're calling in, but what you've made room for. Because manifestation is not just a process, it is a permission. And only the architect can give that permission. Not with a yes or no, but with a quiet shift of alignment that says, now it is safe, now it is time. There is no rush. The architect moves on eternal time. It is not slow. It is precise. It is not hesitant. It is sacredly cautious. And when you align your being to its truth, you will find that the law, those surface currents, suddenly begin to respond, not randomly, not chaotically, but with the fierce intelligence of something ancient finally given room to rise. So if you want to create something new, go to the one who shapes the unseen. Speak not to the sky, but to the earth within you, the place that remembers, the place that never forgot. Let the architect show you the truth beneath your language. Let it shape your essence before you shape your vision. And then only then speak. Act. Move. But move from root. Move from alignment. Move from the quiet command of the one who shapes all things. Because once the architect agrees, nothing can resist you. Once practice. Find a quiet space and sit in stillness, no mantra, no request. Close your eyes. Place one hand over your heart, the other over your stomach. And breathe. Ask softly, without needing an answer. What has my silent architect been building? Wait. Not for a voice, but for a feeling, a shift, a knowing. trust what comes, trust what doesn't. And, most importantly, trust that something sacred within you is already working to reshape the ground beneath your life. Part 2. The Hidden Yes. There is a yes that lives beneath every no you've ever spoken, a buried, golden agreement, forgotten, but not void. It hums beneath your fears, sings beneath your resistance, and waits patiently beneath the rubble of self-doubt. This yes is not about compliance, not about external approval. It is not the yes you give when afraid to disappoint. It is the yes you made with the universe before time wrapped itself around your name. The hidden yes is the deepest agreement of your soul. It is the vow you made, not in words, but in vibration. The moment you chose to come here to enter this dimension, to take on skin and breath and bone, you said yes to a specific current of unfolding, a specific pattern, a divine path, encoded with meaning, motion, and magnificence. The moment you were formed, that yes was etched into the energetic scaffolding of your being. But here's the sacred paradox. That yes was buried, not lost, hidden beneath pain, beneath programming, beneath the noise of a world that trains you to forget. And so you grow up learning to say yes to things that are misaligned, and no to the things that call you home. You say yes to expectations. You say yes to survival. You say yes to the image you believe will earn love. And in doing so, the original yes goes quiet, but it never disappears. This is why you feel a strange grief, even when your life looks successful. This is why something still aches, even when boxes are checked and goals are reached. The body knows when its yes has been silenced. The soul knows when the wrong voice is speaking, and the universe knows when it is being asked to deliver a life that contradicts your original agreement. You see, the law of attraction does not only respond to what you want, it responds to what you once vowed to become. And until you return to that yes, the one you whispered into the blueprint before birth, everything else feels slightly out of tune. It's not punishment, it's invitation. The universe is not ignoring your prayers. It is listening beneath them. It is waiting for the resonance of that original yes, the one that sounds like alignment, like readiness, like truth. Not the yes that seeks applause, but the yes that stirs like a storm in the chest and brings tears for no reason at all. The yes that doesn't need convincing, the yes that feels like coming home. There was a man named Elias, a brilliant scholar, well-regarded, surrounded by praise, but he could not sleep. Each night, as the world hushed, something restless stirred in him. He began having the same dream. He was in a forest, barefoot, whispering to trees in a language he had never learned but deeply remembered. In the dream, he always reached a clearing, and a voice asked, "Will you remember your yes?" He would wake in sweat, shaking, confused. One morning, exhausted and raw, he packed a single bag and walked into the woods, not to run away but to return. There, in the silence of leaves and sky, it came to him. The yes. Not as a statement, not as a choice, but as a remembrance. It wasn't a decision he made, it was a frequency he fell back into. And from that moment forward, his life stopped requiring effort. Everything flowed. Not easily, but truthfully. And truth is the smoothest current of all. This is the secret behind the flow state, the alignment, the miracle timing. It's not magic, it's the yes being remembered. So ask yourself gently, not with urgency, not with pressure. What have I been saying yes to that no longer honors my origin? And what deeper yes have I buried beneath the noise? You may feel nothing at first, or you may feel too much. Both are sacred. For this work is not about logic, it's about return. And returning takes time. Returning takes grace. The hidden yes will not yell. It does not demand your attention. It waits. And yet, it shapes everything. If your current life feels heavy, stagnant, chaotic, look not at the outer world. Look at the frequency of the yes you've been living from. If that yes was born from fear, from duty, from desperation, it has built a reality that reflects its roots. But the moment you remember your true yes, everything begins to shift. Not because you're doing something new, but because you're no longer doing what was never yours. Here's how the law responds. The moment your vibration aligns with your original yes, the universe stops recalculating. It stops correcting your course. It stops sending blocks and detours. It says, they remember now, and the road clears. Not because it becomes perfect, but because it becomes yours. Authentic manifestation doesn't feel like conquest. It feels like alignment. It feels like recognition. The right opportunities feel strangely familiar. The right relationships feel like doors that were waiting to open. Even money flows differently. It stops feeling like survival and starts feeling like expansion. You do not need to fix your life. You need to return to the yes that built it. And that yes can be remembered through feeling. It sounds like breath that moves freely. It feels like tears that come when you hear certain music. It appears in moments of quiet when no one is asking anything of you. It reveals itself in the art you never share, in the words you only write when no one is looking, in the way you stare at the horizon without knowing why. You already know this, yes. You've just called it a dream, a fantasy, a hobby, a someday. But it's not a someday. It's the root. And roots, once watered, do not stay quiet. So water it now. Say yes not to what is expected, but to what is encoded in your soul, even if it makes no sense, especially if it makes no sense. Because the original yes rarely fits inside the logic of the world. It was never supposed to. It was designed to remake the world around it. Your manifestation begins with this: your wealth, your love, your healing, all begin at the altar of this yes. And this yes lives within you, waiting, ready. And the moment you say it again with your breath, with your actions, with your being, the law will answer. Not with noise, not with thunder, but with the clear, unmistakable silence of everything falling into place. 1 sec. Practice. Close your eyes. Place your hands over your chest. Take 3 slow, intentional breaths. On the 3rd exhale, speak aloud. I now return to the yes that made me. Let the words vibrate through your body. Let your shoulders relax. Let your heart open. Then wait. Feel what rises. Do not judge it. Do not question it. Do not name it. Just receive. This is the whisper of remembrance. This is the yes returning. Let it rise through you and reshape the very architecture of your life. Chapter 3. Frequency is Identity. Part 1. The energy that wears your name. You are not who you think you are. You are not your name, your history, your choices. These are garments, expressions that your essence wears for a little while. What you truly are is frequency. A tone, a signal wrapped in flesh. You are not the character in the story. You are the field generating the entire narrative. Everything you attract, everything that rises to meet you, does not respond to what you say you are. It responds to what your frequency proves you are. The universe is not listening to your voice, it is reading your field, reading your breath, reading your posture, your presence, your pulse. Every moment you live, you are emitting a signal, and that signal becomes your identity. You do not become wealthy by wishing for wealth. You become wealthy by attuning to the identity that wealth recognizes. You do not find love by desiring love. You find love when your field emits the signal of safety, of openness, of self-worth. Your frequency is your signature, and reality responds to that signature with absolute fidelity. But most walk through life unaware of what they're broadcasting. They ask for joy while vibrating shame. They pray for healing while rehearsing pain. They seek connection while radiating fear. And then they wonder why the law does not answer. But the law is not cruel. It is exact. It responds not to language, but to resonance. This is why you cannot fake alignment. You can pretend with words, with smiles, with curated images and spiritual talk. But your field does not lie. The universe does not manifest based on your surface. It responds to the undercurrent beneath it. Your true vibration, what you are when no one's watching. There was a woman named Alina who tried everything: journals, vision boards, rituals, meditations. She followed all the steps, but the breakthroughs never came. Until one night, she sat in her room and simply asked, "What am I still being?" And in the silence that followed, it was clear. A child waiting to be rescued. She wasn't vibrating power, she was vibrating helplessness, quietly, beneath her efforts. And when she finally gave presence to that frequency, when she felt it, embraced it, and released it, something shifted, not in the sky but in her field. And then the law moved. The door opened. Not because she did more, but because she became more true. Your vibration is not only shaped by thought, it is shaped by memory, by emotion, by the beliefs buried in your subconscious. If your identity is wrapped in wounds, your signal will be inconsistent. You may say, "I am powerful." But if your nervous system is still bracing for betrayal, the law will echo what your body says, not your lips. You must understand. Manifestation is not a technique. It is an identity response system. Your life mirrors your being, not your trying, not your hoping, your being. So, if you do not yet have what you desire, ask not, "Why hasn't it arrived?" Ask instead, "What identity am I broadcasting? What energy is wearing your name?" And to shift your frequency, you do not need to force new thoughts. You need to embody new truths. You need to remember the version of you that already lives in the timeline you seek. The version of you who already knows abundance, who breathes peace, who expects love. That version is not in the future. That version is present, in a higher vibrational layer of your own field. And your job is not to become them, it is to remember them. The future you seek is already written in your energy. It is a frequency match away. You shift not by fighting your old identity, but by ceasing to feed it, by no longer agreeing with it, by no longer performing for it. Start with how you walk into a room. Start with how you breathe before you speak. Start with how you sit when no one is watching. Start with the moments between the actions. Because those moments tell the truth, and the truth becomes form. There was once a musician named Claude. He had talent, discipline, drive, but something always felt off. He played music, but people didn't feel it. Until one day, while tuning his instrument, he realized something profound. He had never tuned himself. His breath was shallow, his thoughts frantic, his field filled with doubt. He stopped, took 3 deep breaths, and let go of everything he was trying to be. In that silence, something else took over. A clarity, a warmth, and the music that followed carried a different signature. One not of effort, but of essence. From that day on, his presence became his power. This is the shift you must make. From effort to essence, from force to frequency. You do not manifest by chasing, you manifest by matching. Think of the universe like a tuning fork. It only resonates with what mirrors its vibration. If your field is dissonant, No matter how many prayers you send, the response will be fragmented. But when your frequency becomes coherent, when it matches the identity of the life you desire, the entire universe begins to vibrate with you. And this identity is not something you build, it is something you uncover. You peel away the false names, the survival masks, the inherited scripts, and underneath it all, you find the signal of truth. Pure, unshaken, whole. This signal cannot be bought. It cannot be copied. It cannot be faked. It must be lived in silence, in presence, in the sacred stillness of every small decision. So the question is not, how do I attract what I want? The question is, can I hold the frequency of who I already am? Can you remember your true name, the one written in vibration, not ink, the one felt, not spoken? Because when you do, everything responds. Money bends, doors open. People feel you before they see you. Not because you demanded it, but because you became it. And what you become, the law cannot ignore. 1 sec. Practice. Find a mirror. Stand before it in silence. Do not speak yet. Just breathe, deeply, fully, until your body begins to settle. Now, without expression, without performance, say aloud, "This is the frequency I choose to carry." Watch yourself. Listen to how your body responds. Feel if the words land in truther, if something trembles. If it trembles, that's okay. That's where your work begins. Repeat until the tone aligns, until the signal stabilizes. You are not speaking to the world. You are speaking to the field, and the field always listens. Part 2. The anatomy of alignment. Alignment is not an abstract concept. It is not a spiritual slogan or a motivational phrase. It is not something you achieve through willpower or accumulate through good deeds. Alignment is anatomy, a posture of being, a precise and sacred harmony between thought, emotion, breath, body, and action. And when this harmony occurs once, the entire universe reorganizes itself to match you. It begins, always, with attention. Where your attention goes, energy flows. But not just any attention, the kind that is gentle, unwavering, full of presence. The kind of attention that a sculptor gives to stone or a mother gives to her child. The kind of attention that says, "I am here." Alignment starts the moment you stop trying to fix everything and begin to feel everything. The moment you let go of the obsession with outcomes and come back to the current, this moment, this breath, this body. Because your body is the first point of alignment. It is not a passive container, it is an active signal tower. If your body is tense, if your shoulders are tight, if your chest is closed, you are sending out the frequency of contraction, and contraction cannot receive. It deflects, it shields. It pushes against what it secretly longs to let in. So before you speak your desire to the sky, speak it to your spine. Speak it to your breath. Let your jaw unclench. Let your fingers relax. Let your stomach soften. Let your hips remember the rhythm of peace. Then comes emotion. Not the surface flickers of mood, but the deeper river of feeling that flows beneath your skin. Alignment requires emotional congruence. This means your feelings must agree with your thoughts. If you think abundance but feel fear, you are out of tune. If you speak love but feel resentment, the signal splits. The law hears not the louder voice, but the truer one. And the truest voice is always emotion. Emotion is your energetic stamp. It is your signature on every request you make of the universe. Then, thought. Not the scattered, noisy chatter of the untrained mind, but the focused, clear pulse of a mind in service to the heart. Aligned thought is not fantasy, it is declaration. It does not beg, It claims. It moves not from lack, but from remembrance. When your thoughts become clear, grounded, and charged with truth, they create channels through which energy can move. They become pathways for manifestation to travel, but only when they arise from stillness, not fear. And then there is speech. The words you speak shape the vibration you carry. Casual words are not harmless. They are energetic blueprints. Every complaint is a contract. Every affirmation is an instruction. Every sentence is a seed. And your field is always listening. The universe is not waiting for a grand prayer, it is responding to every whisper, to every phrase you mutter under your breath. Speak as if your words build the world, because they do. And finally, action. Action is the final expression of alignment, but not just any action, integrated action. This means every step you take in the outer world must be a reflection of your inner coherence. Not hustle, not fear-driven busyness, but movement born of knowing. When your action emerges from alignment, it carries exponential power. You may take one small step, but the universe takes 10,000 on your behalf. You do not need to do more. You need to align more, and then allow your action to be the natural extension of your internal truth. There was a man named Kalen who once built entire empires through effort. He worked endlessly, spoke powerfully, convinced others of his success. But inside he was fractured, anxious, exhausted. One day, it all collapsed. Not because he lacked skill, but because his structure had no root, no alignment. He disappeared for a time, lived quietly near a river. And each day, instead of planning, he listened to his breath, to his body, to the stillness inside. And from that stillness, clarity returned. Not as a to-do list, but as alignment. When he re-emerged, he did less but achieved more. Not because he found a shortcut, but because he found the origin of all power, unified self. This is the anatomy of alignment. Body, emotion, thought, speech, action all facing the same direction, all saying the same thing. And when this occurs, your frequency becomes clean. Your signal becomes unmistakable, and the universe-receiver, faithful to the law, responds in kind. So many people chase results while living in misalignment. They take actions that contradict their emotions. They speak affirmations that conflict with their nervous system. They visualize abundance while vibrating panic, and then they wonder why nothing lands. But it is not punishment, it is precision. The law cannot bring to you what your energy contradicts. The law needs no convincing. It needs coherence. You do not need to work harder. You need to align deeper. And to align deeper, you must first become aware of where your system is fragmented. You must ask, do my thoughts honor my heart? Does my body support my desire? Do my actions reflect my knowing or my fear? There is no shame in misalignment. It is simply a signala, sacred invitation to return, to soften, to bring all parts of you into one unified yes. And alignment does not require perfection. It requires honesty. Even an honest no is closer to alignment than a forced yes. Even a still moment of truth is more powerful than 1,000 actions taken in confusion. When you return to yourself fully, the world has no choice but to mirror that return. There is no faster way to manifest than through alignment. Because alignment is the place where time bends, where space yields, where doors appear, where there were only walls. It is the vibration of the original blueprint. It is the frequency of divinity made visible through form. So sit, breathe, listen. Check your structure. Feel your field. Ask not just what you want. Ask, am I arranged for it? If not, reorganize. Gently, tenderly, not through pressure, but through truth. And when you are ready, the law will know. Because the anatomy of alignment is the shape of permission. And when you are aligned, you are no longer asking for your future. You are living it. To build practice, find a quiet place. Sit comfortably, spine tall. Close your eyes and take 5 slow, rhythmic breaths. Now, scan your being from head to toe. Ask, does my body feel safe to receive? Do my feelings support what I desire? Do my thoughts match my truth? Do my words align with what I believe? Do my actions reflect who I know myself to be? Where you feel dissonance, breathe gently into that space. Do not correct it, just observe it. Hold it. Let awareness begin the healing. Alignment begins with recognition. And what you recognize, you can realign. One breath, one truth, one silent agreement at a time. Chapter 4. Desire as Divine Design. Part 1. The Sacred Architecture of Wanting. Desire is not a flaw. It is not a distraction. It is not something to transcend, escape, or suppress. Desire is the echo of your original blueprint, the pulse of the divine within you, attempting to express itself through form. You were born with it not by accident, but by design. For what you long for is not just your set as you, remembering yourself in pieces. You have been taught to mistrust your desires, to label them as selfish, shallow, worldly, indulgent, but this is a distortion, a misunderstanding passed down through centuries of spiritual confusion. Desire is not a mistake, it is the map, a sacred compass woven into your being, pointing not toward more possessions but toward more presence. You were never meant to starve your longing. You were meant to become intimate with it, to feel it fully, to listen to it as you would a sacred text. Every time you say, "I want," your soul is whispering, "I remember." Because desire is not something you make. It is something that calls you back to the greater self. You do not desire abundance because of greed. You desire abundance because you remember what it feels like to be unbound. You do not desire love because you are incomplete. You desire love because your soul knows what it means to be unified, and it aches for that return. You do not desire impact because of ego. You desire impact because your spirit was designed to ripple, to shape, to serve. Desire is not the voice of lack, it is the voice of memory. And here lies the sacred truth. The desires that burn within you the most were placed there by design. They are not random, they are not distractions, they are assignments. Embedded instructions from the infinite, encoded in longing, set to awaken at the exact moment you were ready to carry them. You are not chasing your desires. You are fulfilling them on behalf of the universe. You are birthing them through form. You are honoring them through embodiment. And in doing so, you become the living bridge between what is unseen and what becomes real. This is why ignoring your desires leads to suffering. Not because you're missing out, but because you are resisting your nature. Because every time you silence a true desire, you dam a sacred river. And sacred rivers do not vanish. They rise, they swell, they find new pathways. Sometimes through dreams, sometimes through pain, sometimes through an ache you can't explain. And so your work is not to judge your desires. Your work is to discern them, to separate the surface cravings from the soul callings, to feel the difference between the ego's noise and the essence's whisper. The ego wants recognition, the soul wants remembrance. The ego seeks escape, the soul seeks return. The ego is loud, the soul is steady. So feel your desires without shame, without apology. Trace them back to their root. Ask them, where did you begin? What are you here to teach me? What part of me are you trying to awaken? And if you listen deeply enough, your desire will speak. Not in words, but in knowing. It will show you a vision. It will bring tears to your eyes. It will fill your chest with heat. It will lift the hairs on your arms, and in that moment you will understand. Desire is not asking you to chase it. It's asking you to become it. There was a woman named Roya who dreamed of building healing sanctuaries across the world. She told no one. She believed it was too big, too bold, too selfish. She buried the vision for years until her health began to decline. Her spirit dulled. Her spark dimmed. No illness could explain it. No diagnosis made sense. Until one day, in the quiet of meditation, she heard it again, the vision, not as fantasy, but as a command. And in that moment, she wept not from fear, but from relief. Because she finally realized it was never about the sanctuaries. It was about the yes. It was about her becoming the vessel through which Source could create. Your desire is not asking you to chase it. It is asking you to make space for it, to clear the debris of doubt, to soften the armor of disbelief, to create within your field a sanctuary so that what longs to come through you finally can. You are not separate from your desires. They are your next evolution. They are the next layer of your becoming. And the universe has no resistance to them. It does not question your right to desire. Only you do. The law is not withholding. It is waiting for you to come into frequency with your own assignment. And when you do, when you stop begging for your desire and start embodying it, the law moves with stunning precision. Synchronicities appear. Doors open without knocking. People arrive as if summoned. Not because you have begged for it, but because you have remembered who you are, a sacred architect building reality through longing made manifest. This is the deeper truth of manifestation. It is not about getting more. It is about becoming more true. And when you become true, everything aligned with that truth is drawn to you not by effort, but by magnetic law. Your longing is not a liability. It is a holy signal. And when answered, it turns into flow. The kind of flow that reorders your reality. The kind of flow that turns thought into things. The kind of flow that makes others call you lucky, while you know it was never luck, it was alignment with your original instructions. 1-6. Practice. Sit quietly and place a hand over your heart. Ask yourself, what desire do I keep dismissing but cannot let go of? Breathe with the question. Let it rise. Then ask, what part of me believes this desire is not allowed? Do not rush. Do not fix. Just feel. Let the desire speak. Let the fear be held. Then whisper aloud, I am willing to honor the design within me. Repeat it until something stirs in your body, heat, tears, memory, clarity. Let that be your guide. Your desire is not your weakness. It is your signature. It is the fire you were born to carry. Let it burn. Part 2. Manifestation is obedience to desire. You were not born to resist yourself. You were not sent here to silence the most sacred voice within. Desire is not the enemy of discipline. It is the compass of alignment. To manifest is not merely to think or feel or visualize. To manifest is to obey your desire as if it were sacred law, because it is. There is a moment in every journey where desire crosses from idea into instruction. It no longer whispers, it commands, not with force, but with a pull so undeniable that to ignore it feels like betrayal. It says, now, walk, speak, move, create. And in that moment, you face the choice that defines all transformation. Will you obey the instruction of your soul, or will you delay it? The universe does not delay. Only we do. Desire is the original assignment, not just to want, but to follow the wanting, to give it shape, to move it from formlessness into form. Manifestation is not magic, it is devotion. It is the holy practice of showing up each day to honor the frequency of what you claim to want. This is why so many do not receive what they ask for, because they ask from the mind but refuse to obey with the body. They want change without movement. They want abundance without expansion. They want love without vulnerability. But desire has no interest in performance. It seeks embodiment. It is not impressed by talk. It wants to live through you. And so, the law waits not for better words, but for real action. Not big action, not heroic displays, but obedience in the smallest of ways. Desire says, rest. Do you rest? Desire says, speak. Do you silence yourself? Desire says, create. Do you scroll instead? Desire says, walk into the unknown. Do you turn back toward safety? This is not about shame. This is about congruence. Because the law does not respond to begging, it responds to becoming. When your desire asks you to act, and you act, you enter the field of alignment. You step into the current of what is already becoming. And from there, reality bends, doors open, resources gather, energy floods in. Because you have shown the universe that you can carry what you've asked for. This is what most people miss. Desire is not asking if you want something. It's asking if you're willing to become someone. Someone who moves like the vision is real. Who speaks like the thing is already on the way. Who wakes each day as a steward of the unseen. There was a man named Theo who longed to teach wisdom to others. For years he read, studied, prayed, but he never spoke, never shared, never moved, and nothing came. One day, he sat under a tree and asked, "Why not me?" And the answer came, soft and clear. Because you are not living as the one who carries it, and in that moment he understood. His desire had not failed him, he had failed to obey it. That night, he shared his first message, raw, imperfect, but true. And the flow began not because the message was flawless, but because the alignment had finally arrived. You must understand, manifestation is not something you do occasionally. It is something you become consistently. Not just when you meditate, not just when you write goals, but in how you walk, how you sit, how you breathe, how you listen to the guidance that arises from within. Desire is a living intelligence. It will guide you step by step. It does not give you the full map, it gives you the next instruction. And your obedience to that instruction opens the next door, and the next, and the next. This is how miracles are built, brick by brick, yes by yes, trust by trust. But most people wait. They wait for clarity, for confidence, for certainty. And in waiting, they violate the law. Because the law does not require you to be fearless, it requires you to be willing. Willing to move before you're fully ready. Willing to say yes without guarantees. Willing to walk into the mystery. Desire will not scream over your doubt. It will wait for you to choose. But if you do not act, if you postpone your obedience long enough, that desire may fade not because it left, but because you stopped listening. You trained yourself to ignore it. You told it, again and again, that its instruction could not be trusted. But even then, it never truly dies. Desire is eternal. It waits behind the curtain. It dreams inside your bones. It speaks again in quiet moments, in tears you don't understand, in longing that wakes you at midnight. It is the divine blueprint trying again, always trying, waiting for your yes. Obedience is the highest form of manifestation, not obedience to fear, not obedience to outer authority, but obedience to the voice that rises from within, the one that speaks not in words, but in energy. That says, this is right. That says, this is your next step. That says, this is who you came here to be. And you will know it by how it feels in your body. Not as pressure, but as presence. Not as fear, but as electricity. Not as noise, but as clarity. A still, undeniable pull. To obey that voice is to activate the law. To delay that voice is to delay your manifestation. Because what you want is not coming from outside, it is waiting for you to match it in motion. And so, ask yourself not just what you want, but what it has been asking of you. And if you know the next step, take it. Even trembling, even uncertain, even small. Because every act of obedience creates alignment. And alignment is the door through which all things arrive. Once practice. Find a quiet space. Breathe slowly, fully. Let your desire rise into awareness. Then ask aloud, what is my desire asking me to do next? Do not rush the answer. Wait. Let it be simple, clear, immediate. Then ask, am I willing to obey? If the answer is yes, act within 24 hours. It does not need to be perfect. It only needs to be true. Because your obedience is the bridge, and manifestation walks across it. Chapter 5. The Law of Embodiment. Part 1. Becoming the frequency before it arrives. The great illusion of manifestation is the idea that you must wait for something to arrive before you allow yourself to become it. That peace will come after the chaos ends. That wealth will arise after the breakthrough happens. That love will blossom when someone new enters your life. But the law of embodiment tells a different story. One that is simpler, quieter, and far more powerful. It says, you must become it first. Before the thing arrives, before the conditions change, before the evidence is visible, you must carry the energy. You must hold the shape. You must walk as if, speak as if, breathe as if. Not to fake it, not to trick the universe, but because embodiment is the announcement to the field, I am already home. The law is not moved by longing, it is moved by resonance. And resonance happens only when your state matches your intention, not in mind alone, not in language alone, but in full body, whole self, grounded reality. You cannot speak of abundance while vibrating survival. You cannot pray for peace while moving with panic. You cannot script for love while walking with the armor of fear. The field does not respond to your words, it responds to your embodiment. And embodiment is not about pretending. It is not about performance. It is not about putting on a costume of success or reciting lines of confidence. It is about living now as the version of yourself that your future is calling you toward. It is not theater, it is alignment. There was once a seamstress named Ava who dreamed of opening a shop filled with handcrafted silks, woven with symbols she saw in dreams. She waited for the money. She waited for the investors. She waited for the permission. And years passed. One day, she stopped waiting. She lit a candle. She pulled out her grandmother's sewing machine. She created one garment, then two. She displayed them in her window, not a store window, but her home window, and people noticed. One woman knocked, then another. Orders came. The field responded not when the shop opened, but when she opened, when she embodied the essence of what she already was. The law of embodiment says this: energy first, circumstances second. And when energy comes first, life rearranges itself around you. The clients appear, the opportunities whisper, the timing aligns, not as random luck, but as inevitable reflection. You are the center of gravity. And when you become the version of yourself that your future recognizes, the future cannot help but return to you. This is why you must stop waiting. Waiting is a vibration. Hoping is a frequency. Both say, I am not yet. Embodiment says, I am. And I am is the creative word of the universe. It is the original sound, the first decree, the genesis of form. When you embody the identity of the one who already has, you collapse time, you remove the gap. You become the cause instead of the seeker, and the field has no choice but to reflect the clarity of your signal. But how do you embody something that hasn't happened yet? You begin with stillness. You begin with breath. You close your eyes and feel the feeling of completion, not the fantasy of what might be, but the presence of what already is, if only in vibration. You ask, if it were already done, how would I stand? How would I speak? How would I walk through this day? What would I no longer tolerate? What would I celebrate? And then you begin. Not perfectly, not theatrically, but truly. A little straighter spine. A little more peace in your step. A little more silence in place of complaint. A little more gratitude not forced, but chosen. And little by little, the world around you changes not because the world changed first, but because you did. This is the secret every master knew. You are the evidence the future is waiting for. And when you become the embodiment of what you once only dreamed of, you become magnetic. Not in theory, in truth. Your frequency announces what you allow. Your posture transmits what you are ready to receive. Your daily choices instruct the law to deliver in kind. And yet, most do not embody, they perform. They try. They effort. But effort is not embodiment. Embodiment flows. It is not heavy. It is not rigid. It is quiet power. There was a young man named Arlen who longed to be a healer. He studied, he memorized, he watched others, but nothing happened. Until one day, in deep meditation, he asked, "What would I do if I already believed I was?" And the answer came not as an idea, but as a movement. He placed his hands over his heart, and something ancient returned. That day, he began simply placing his hands on those he loved. No marketing, no promotion, just presence, and healing began. The law did not wait for a diploma. The law responded to embodiment. And so the question is not, how do I manifest what I want? The question is, how do I become the version of me who already has it? And then, live from that place. Speak from that place. Choose from that place. And even when the evidence is missing, remain in that place. Because your frequency builds the reality, and it builds it faster when it is unwavering. To embody is to say, I no longer need proof. I am the proof. And from that place, the world bends. Not because you forced it, but because you finally matched it. 1 Practice. Close your eyes and place both hands over your chest. Take a deep breath and whisper the name of the version of you who already has the life you desire. Feel them in your bones. Now ask, how would they show up today? What energy would they carry? What would they no longer fear? Then choose one small action that reflects that identity. It could be posture, it could be language, it could be silence. Take it before the day ends, and let that act become the seed of your future. You are no longer waiting. You are becoming. And what you become becomes your life. Part 2. Living as if you already are. There is a space between where you are and where you want to be, sacred, invisible space that is not measured by time, but by frequency. Most people stand at the edge of desire, looking across that invisible gap, waiting for a sign, waiting for a bridge, waiting for permission. But the masters of manifestation do not wait. They live as if they already are, not as performance, not as delusion, but as recognition of a deeper truth, that the version of them who has already arrived is already within. Living as if is not pretending. It is not faking it until you make it. It is the conscious choice to behave, think, feel, breathe, speak, and respond from the reality you have chosen before it has physically arrived. You are not lying to the universe when you live as if. You are reminding it. You are saying, "This is who I am now, and I no longer require evidence to believe it." This is embodiment in motion, not just in stillness, but in the daily dance of life. When the bills come, you breathe as if abundance is already present. When the call doesn't come, you hold your posture as if the opportunity is already on its way. When doubt whispers, you smile gently and answer, "I've already chosen." Because every moment you live as if you collapse the distance between you and the future you desire, you shift from waiting for life to happen to being the very cause of life unfolding. You stop negotiating with reality. You start creating it. This is the heart of creation, not thinking about it, not journaling about it, but being it. There was a woman named Leora. She wanted to write a book that would change lives, but for years she waited to feel like an author. She waited for the right setting, the right inspiration, the right validation, but it never came. Until one morning, she woke with a single decision. I will live as if the book is already written. She cleared space on her desk. She bought the pen she imagined signing it with. She walked to her writing corner each day and wrote not to become an author, but because she already was one. And something opened. Flow returned. The pages arrived. Because her body, her behavior, her choice had become the message the universe had been waiting for. The law is not activated by hope. It is activated by alignment. And alignment means, I am no longer just thinking like my future self, I am living like them. I am no longer chasing the outcome, I am practicing the state. I am not waiting to feel different, I am choosing to become different now. Living as if requires trust, deep trust, sacred trust, the kind of trust that does not ask for proof, the kind of trust that says, the fact that I can feel it means it is already real. You must stop looking for signs. You must become the sign. You must stop asking for reassurance. You must walk like one who knows. Because when you walk like one who knows, the field rearranges to confirm what you carry. This is why so many manifestations are delayed, not because you're not worthy, but because you're vibrating in contradiction. You say you want love, but you live in self-protection. You say you want wealth, but you act as if life cannot hold you. You say you want peace, but you treat chaos like a necessary companion. The law doesn't care what you say you want, it mirrors what you are being. So ask yourself now, not just, what do I want, but how would I move today if I already had it? What would I no longer entertain? What boundaries would I set? What habits would fall away naturally? How would I treat my body, my space, my breath, if I believed fully that I was already there? And then live that, even in small ways, especially in small ways. Because this is how embodiment deepens, in the tiny details, the quiet commitments, the moment you choose rest over panic, the moment you smile before evidence, the moment you put down the phone and pick up the vision, the moment you clean your room like a king lives there, the moment you write that email as if the world is waiting to hear you. These are not games, they are instructions. When you live as if, you speak to the field in its native language, certainty. And certainty is magnetic. You do not need to be perfect to live as if. You only need to be consistent. Even the smallest moment of alignment sends a ripple. Even the softest act of belief is enough to start the shift. There was a baker named Halem who dreamed of hosting guests in a cafe he could call his own, but he had no money, no building, no plan. Still, each morning, he made coffee for himself as if it were for a guest. He placed flowers on the table. He prepared his breakfast like it was being served in his dream. People noticed. Friends came. Someone offered a corner of their shop. Months later, he had a small cafe. Not because he waited, but because he acted as if the door was already open. And it was. This is the law of embodiment. You do not wait for the thing to come. You become the one who has already received it. And when you do, your reality bends because it recognizes you. It says, "Ah, there you are. I've been waiting for you to arrive." 1. Practice. Close your eyes. Picture your future self not in fantasy but in form. Ask them, how do you walk? How do you wake up? What do you no longer tolerate? What is easy for you now? Now, pick one small habit, gesture, or decision that reflects that version of you. Live it today. Not tomorrow. Not when you feel ready. Today. And as you do, speak this affirmation aloud. I am the embodiment of all I've asked for. I live as if, because I am. Repeat it until your nervous system relaxes, until your energy remembers, until your reality responds. Because it will. It always does. Chapter 6. The Field Remembers. Part 1. The Echo of Your Energy. There is something that remembers you, something that has never forgotten who you are. Not the mask, not the name, but the original you. The you that existed before doubt, before delay, before the world's noise began to press its narrative into your skin. This something is not outside you. It is not in the sky, or the stars, or the distant heavens. It is all around you and within you. It is the field. The quantum field is not just energy. It is memory. It is a living, breathing intelligence that holds the imprint of everything you have ever been and everything you are meant to become. It carries the scent of your truth, the pattern of your essence, and it does not need convincing. It only needs recognition. You see, nothing you've ever desired has truly left you. The field stores every vision, every silent wish, every whisper of your soul that once said, "More is possible." Even when you forget, the field does not. Even when you bury your dreams, the field holds them like seeds, waiting patiently for the vibration of readiness to bloom them into form. You do not have to start over. You do not have to reclaim everything with effort. You only have to remember. Because remembering is the beginning of resonance, and resonance is what wakes the field. It is not your doing that activates the law, it is your being. The moment you return to the feeling of who you really are, the field remembers. And in remembering, it responds. There was a woman named Naria who once dreamed of painting light, not pictures light. She was a child when it came to her, waking from sleep with colors behind her eyes, visions she couldn't explain. She shared them once, was laughed at, and so she buried the gift, grew older, grew quiet, grew afraid, but the field remembered. One night, while walking home through a storm, she saw the sky split open with golden lightning, and something broke open in her chest. She fell to her knees, not in fear, but in remembrance. That night, she painted for the first time in 20 years. And the field moved with her, not because she finally earned it, but because she finally remembered it. What you are seeking is not lost. It is merely waiting for your return. The field is holding it, and it listens not to your effort, but to your frequency. It remembers who you were when you first imagined a life filled with joy. It remembers the exact vibration of your body when you first said yes to the dream. It remembers the tone of your breath the day you felt something sacred move through you for the very first time. And it holds that information not as data, but as energy, waiting, watching, ready to activate again. This is why certain places bring you to tears, why certain smells transport you, why a piece of music can awaken something ancient in you. These are frequency echoes. They come to remind you of who you were before you forgot. They come to call you back not to the past, but to your origin frequency. Because when you realign with that original signal, the field begins to reassemble the life that was meant to grow from it. You are not building from scratch. You are rejoining a blueprint that was always alive. The field is not indifferent. It is not passive. It is not distant. It is responsive. It moves in rhythm with your remembrance. When you remember your power, it amplifies it. When you remember your purpose, it accelerates it. When you remember your worth, it reflects it. And when you remember your truth, it bows to it. But you must be willing to drop the old stories, because the field cannot move while you're repeating what no longer belongs to you. It cannot manifest new outcomes while you speak as the version of yourself that no longer exists. The field is always listening, always scanning, always matching your energetic output. So if you speak limitation, it echoes that. If you speak possibility, it echoes that. If you speak despair, the field agrees not in punishment, but in precision. It mirrors not your intentions, but your frequency. And so, the sacred work is not to chase a better future, but to become a clearer signal. Because the field cannot forget, but it can wait. And it will wait until your signal becomes coherent again. Until you remember who you were before you were broken, before you began apologizing for your gifts, before you believed you had to earn what was already yours by design. So pause now. Take a breath. Close your eyes. Ask the question you've forgotten how to ask. What have I buried that the field still remembers? Let the answers rise. A dream, a gift, a way of moving, a song that still echoes in your soul. Whatever it is not gone. It is merely held. And the moment you breathe life into it again, it will begin to move. Not slowly, not cautiously, but with the speed of divine recognition. This is why manifestations sometimes arrive suddenly, because the moment your energy returns to the frequency of remembrance, the field no longer needs to delay. It's not responding to what's new. It's responding to what's true. And what's true has never left you. It's only waiting for you to say, I remember now. Once practice. Close your eyes and place one hand over your heart, the other over your stomach. Breathe deeply and ask inwardly, what part of me have I forgotten? What dream still lives in the field, waiting for me to return? Let a memory rise, a sensation, a place where the dream still lives in purity. Now speak aloud. I remember, not with force, not with desperation, but with reverence. Repeat until you feel something unlock, something realign, something soften. You do not have to find the dream. You only have to feel it again. The field will do the rest. Part 2. The field responds to who you're being. The field does not respond to what you think you deserve. It does not move based on how long you've waited, how hard you've tried, or how many times you've been hurt. It does not tally your efforts or pity your delays. The field does not speak the language of time, it speaks the language of being. It mirrors your identity in real time, not the identity you wish you had. Not the one you present to the world, but the one you embody in silence, in breath, in vibration. You see, manifestation is not about reward. It's about resonance. The field does not judge. It does not punish. It only reflects. It reflects you, not the you perform, but the you live. The field is like a sacred mirror with no bias, no distortion, no hesitation. It does not filter your requests through morality. It filters them through energy, through congruence, through coherence. This is why your words mean little unless your frequency matches them. You can speak 1,000 affirmations, but if your nervous system is still vibrating fear, the field responds to fear. You can pray for abundance, but if you move through your day as someone waiting to be rescued, the field will continue delivering circumstances that reinforce waiting. It is not unkind, it is precise. It is honest, and above all it is intelligent. The field is always scanning for the truth of who you're being, not the polished truth, not the aspirational truth, the energetic truth. It reads your body language, your breath patterns, your tone of voice, your daily rituals. It listens to what you say in passing when you don't think anyone or anything is listening. It pays attention to the version of you who shows up when there is no audience, no deadline, no spotlight, and it reflects that back in form faithfully. This is why change doesn't begin with a new vision. It begins with a new baseline, a new way of holding yourself, a new tone in your voice, a new stillness in your breath. You cannot trick the field. You cannot declare abundance while embodying desperation. You cannot call in love while vibrating rejection. You cannot affirm worth while secretly bargaining for crumbs. The field is never confused. It sees through it all. So the sacred question becomes, who am I truly being in this moment? Not yesterday, not tomorrow, not in theory, but now. Because now is where the field meets you. And now is always enough. When you return to the present moment with full embodiment, when you align your thought, feeling, posture, and presence with the version of you who already carries what you seek, the field recalibrates instantly. It does not delay. It does not hesitate. It simply listens and reflects. There was a woman named Sienna who spent years trying to call in partnership. She wrote the lists. She practiced self-love rituals. She even visualized a wedding. But beneath the surface, she still carried the identity of the unloved. She still walked with her shoulders curled in. She still flinched at compliments. The field saw it all and gave her more of what matched that vibration. Until one morning, something shifted. She sat at her table and asked herself, what if I simply became the woman who is already loved? Not to attract someone, not to manipulate outcomes, but to return to a version of herself who was whole. She stood taller. She dressed with devotion. She spoke more gently. She began honoring her own time. And then the field responded not with fireworks, but with reflections. Eyes that lingered, invitations that felt aligned, a deepening of self-respect that bloomed into connection. She didn't earn love, she became it. This is what most people miss. They try to change the field without changing their frequency. They wait for evidence before becoming. But the field cannot shift until you shift. And the shift is not dramatic, it is subtle, cellular, sacred. The field is not looking for your perfection, it's looking for your alignment. You can be in process, you can be healing, you can be messy, but if your frequency is aligned with truth, with willingness, with integrity, the field will reflect your evolution in real time. This is the difference between wanting and receiving. Wanting says, I am not yet. Receiving says, I already am. And the field only echoes one of those. So the daily practice is not to beg, plead, or strive. The daily practice is to become, to let your spine speak for you, to let your breath hold certainty, to let your decisions reinforce your identity, to let your morning routine become your prayer, to let your body language confirm your worth, and the field will watch. It always does. And when it recognizes the signal of your truest self, it will respond not with hesitation, but with momentum. It will send people, timing, whispers, doors, synchronicities, and confirmation not because you asked, but because you matched. You became the answer, and the field always remembers the shape of truth. 1 seg. Practice. Today, observe who you are being not in your thoughts, but in your presence. Notice how you stand, how you speak, how you respond to silence, how you treat your own time. Ask yourself with radical honesty, is this the version of me who lives in my highest timeline? If not, gently adjust. Straighten your back. Speak slower. Choose differently. You are not faking it as your true self you are returning to. Let the field witness your choice, and it will mirror it back in form. Because you don't attract what you want. You attract what you embody. Chapter 7. Stillness is a Command. Part 1. The Silence that Shapes Worlds. Stillness is not the absence of motion, it is the fullness of presence. It is not empty space, it is a sacred command. A signal to the field that says, I am no longer seeking, I am now receiving. In stillness, you stop chasing, you stop asking, you stop trying to control the river, you become the river. And the river never questions whether it will arrive, it simply flows. Most people are terrified of stillness, because in stillness, there are no distractions. There is no noise to cover the doubt, no movement to disguise the fear. No action to convince yourself that you're progressing, just you, just breath, just being. But it is here, in the absence of striving, that the field begins to reorganize. Stillness is not inaction, it is precision. It is the decision to cease all movement that is not aligned, to pause every thought that is not rooted in trust, to wait not passively, but powerfully. The stillness of a mountain does not mean nothing is happening. It means everything is happening beneath the surface. Roots deepening, seasons shifting, energy gathering. This is the power of true stillness. It is a sacred center point around which the universe recalibrates. You do not manifest more by doing more. You manifest more by becoming undistracted, by anchoring your presence so deeply that the field has no choice but to respond. Because stillness is not waiting for something to happen, it is the bold, magnetic declaration that everything is already happening in your favor. There was once a man named Omar who had tried every method of manifestation: vision boards, affirmations, scripting, visualizations, yet still his desires seemed to dance just beyond reach. Until one night, overwhelmed and exhausted, he sat in total silence and said nothing, not even in prayer, not even in hope. He just breathed. He surrendered not because he gave up, but because he gave in. Into presence, into peace, into stillness, and in that silence, something opened. Not in his mind, but in the field. Within days, movement began again. Unexpected emails, long-forgotten ideas returning, a connection from years ago reaching out, not because of what he said, but because of what he stopped saying. Not because of what he did, but because of what he stopped doing. This is the paradox. Manifestation is not fueled by action. It is directed by alignment. And alignment often requires stopping. It requires listening, not with your ears, but with your being. Because your greatest clarity does not come when you're racing towards solutions. It comes when you pause long enough to hear what was speaking all along. Stillness sharpens your signal. It makes you readable to the field. Because when you're in frantic movement, when you're doubting, grasping, hustling, you're sending out static. You're broadcasting chaos. You're vibrating contradiction. And the law cannot reflect clarity to a cluttered field. The field doesn't punish you, waits. for coherence, for honesty, for presence. This is why the most powerful manifestors are often the quietest. They are not loud with their plans. They do not declare their every intention. They hold it, they hum with it, they breathe it. And the universe listens not to the volume of your voice, but to the stability of your stillness. Stillness says, I am safe. Stillness says, I already know. Stillness says, it is already done. And the field listens, because the field is always listening. But stillness is a skill, one that must be reclaimed in a world addicted to noise. You must train your nervous system to stop equating stillness with danger, to stop reacting to quiet with panic, to stop interpreting pause as failure. Stillness is not nothingness, it is fullness without force. And when you sit in stillness, not begging, not strategizing, not adjusting, but simply being, you are showing the universe that you trust its timing more than your plans, that you believe in its intelligence more than your own urgency. This is not weakness. This is supreme power. This is divine command. There was a young woman named Elora who was desperate for change. She had done the work, she had healed, she had tried, and yet her life remained still. Until a mentor said to her, what if the stillness is not the obstacle but the teacher? So she stopped trying to break through it. She stopped treating it as a problem to fix. She began meeting the stillness like a friend. And slowly, she noticed something. The silence began to speak. It whispered her next steps. It revealed hidden wounds. It delivered the very clarity she had been too loud to receive, because the stillness had never been empty, it had only been waiting for her to listen. You are not punished by stillness. You are refined by it. You are made more accurate in the pause, more precise in the quiet, more magnetic in the absence of noise. This is why ancient mystics sat in caves, why prophets wandered the desert, why sages listened to the wind. Because stillness is not passive, it is the womb of manifestation, the breath before the word, the space where form is chosen. And when you enter it with reverence, it responds. So the next time you feel the urge to act out of fear, pause. The next time you find yourself spiraling in thought, breathe. The next time your body wants to react, soften. The next time you feel resistance rising, wait. Not in avoidance, not in apathy, but in command. Because stillness is the place where the universe calibrates to your clarity, and clarity is irresistible to the field. Once practice. Set a timer for 11 minutes. Sit in stillness. No phone, no music, no journal, just breath. Each time your mind wanders, return to this phrase, I am the still point through which all flows. Repeat it softly in your heart. Let your breath slow. Let your body soften. And do not seek answers, only presence. When the timer ends, notice what has shifted. You may not feel it immediately, but the field felt everything. Because stillness is not a gap in the work. It is the work. Part 2. Releasing the need to rush. There is no faster way to delay your manifestations than to rush them. The energy of urgency is not neutral, it is a signal, a statement, a frequency that says, I do not believe. When you rush, you confess to the field that you doubt divine timing, that you fear being forgotten, that you do not trust what is already in motion. But the universe does not operate in panic, it unfolds in precision. Everything in nature moves in rhythm. The moon does not rise a moment too soon. The tides do not crash out of season. The tree does not force its blooming. And yet here we are, sprinting toward dreams as though we might miss them, as though our destiny might run away if we do not chase it with breathless obsession. But your dreams are not running. They are waiting for your energy to match the maturity of what you've asked for. Rushing is not speed, it is imbalance. It is the friction that arises when your inner world is not in harmony with the outer unfolding, and the field, ever responsive, does not accelerate because you push harder. It accelerates because your vibration becomes more precise. To release the need to rush is not laziness, it is mastery. It is the choice to align with divine intelligence over egoic force. It is the moment you say to life, I know this is already mine. I no longer need to panic my way to the promise. There was once a man named Elias who longed to leave his corporate job and build a healing sanctuary. He spent every night plotting, planning, panicking. He tried to quit twice, but nothing stuck. Each attempt felt forced, premature, unstable. One day, after a failed launch, he broke down under an olive tree behind his office and wept not from defeat, but from exhaustion. He realized he wasn't actually trusting the vision. He was trying to outrun his fear. In that moment, he whispered, I release the rush. Everything shifted. Not because he stopped working, but because he stopped forcing. He gave the vision time to breathe. He allowed space between the steps. He began building not in frenzy, but in flow. And within a year, the sanctuary existed not as a fragile fantasy, but as a rooted reality. This is the sacred paradox. When you stop trying to make things happen faster, they often arrive sooner, because your energy has become safe enough to receive them. The field responds not to your timeline, but to your trust. You must understand, when you rush, you leak power, you scatter your field, you dilute your signal, and the universe, in its infinite intelligence, protects you from premature manifestation, not to punish, but to preserve. Because the life you are calling in is not just about results, it's about readiness. And sometimes, the delay is mercy in disguise. The soil knows when the seed is ready. The womb knows when the child is formed. The field knows when the frequency is stable. So what is required of you is not faster motion but deeper presence, not acceleration but alignment. The moment you shift from how fast can I get there to how deeply can I arrive here, you invite miracles, because now the field no longer sees contradiction, it sees congruence, it sees wholeness, and wholeness is magnetic. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not missing your moment. You are being prepared, sharpened, tempered, refined. Every pause holds purpose. Every delay carries data. Every still season is pregnant with something your mind has not yet understood. There is a divine choreography unfolding behind the scenes of your life, and if you rush it, you interrupt it. You confuse the timing. You create turbulence in what was meant to be peaceful emergence. Releasing the rush is a declaration of sovereignty. It is the moment you remember that you do not have to hustle to be worthy, that you do not have to chase to be chosen, that you do not have to prove to be permitted. Your being is enough. And when your being becomes still and your spirit becomes trusting, you send out the signal that says, I already know. And the universe loves to move in response to certainty. There was a dancer named Soline who dreamed of performing before thousands. She auditioned tirelessly, begged directors for time, rushed through routines, burned out repeatedly. Until one day, she walked into a studio, closed the door, and danced for no one but the presence within her. She slowed every motion, felt every note, became one with the silence between beats. And something shifted. From that stillness, a new performance emerged born not of pressure, but of power. Her next audition was effortless, not because she practiced more, but because she embodied more. Her calm became her clarity. Her stillness became her strength. And the rolls camino because she ran faster, but because she remembered who she already was. This is what happens when you release the need to rush. You become the space where alignment unfolds. You open the door for timing to become your ally. You walk with rhythm instead of resistance. And life begins to move with you, not around you. 1 sec. Practice. Take a single desire you currently feel urgency around. Close your eyes. Place both hands gently over your heart. Whisper aloud, I release the rush. I trust the intelligence of timing. I walk in harmony with what is already mine. Let these words settle into your breath. Repeat until your body begins to soften, until the grip loosens, until presence returns. Then write down the next step that feels aligned, not rushed. Take that step, and do it slowly, with reverence, with peace. This is not delay, it is devotion. This is not apathy, it is energetic mastery. You are not chasing the dream. You are becoming the space where it lands. Chapter 8. Trust is the shortcut. Part 1. The frequency of certainty. There is a force more potent than vision, more magnetic than hustle, more transformative than technique. That force is trust, not as a concept, not as a passive hope, but as a living, breathing frequency. Trust is not something you feel only when things are going well. Trust is who you are before the results come, before the path is clear, before the door opens. Trust is the energy of those who walk without needing to see. And when you carry it, the universe bends to meet you. Because trust is not waiting for evidence. Trust is the evidence. It is the inner reality so strong that outer reality has no choice but to reflect it. The field listens to trust the way a river listens to gravity instinctively. Without hesitation, it responds to it instantly, fully, faithfully. Because trust is not weakness. Trust is not surrendering to fate. Trust is alignment with intelligence greater than control. It is the bold act of becoming the vibration of yes before the world agrees with you. You cannot fake trust. You cannot script it. You cannot perform it. You can only feel it in the silence of your chest, in the steadiness of your breath, in the calm behind your eyes. Trust is a posture. Trust is a tone. Trust is a frequency so coherent that it begins reshaping your field the moment you choose it. There was a woman named Mira who, after years of failure and rejection, reached a moment of reckoning. One night, in tears, she stood barefoot on the earth beneath a full moon and whispered, I don't know how, but I still believe. And something answered. Not a voice, not a sign, but a warmth that filled her chest like sunlight in winter. She fell to her knees not in defeat, but in release. She had not given up. She had finally let go. She surrendered the how and anchored into the knowing. And that knowing changed everything. Because the moment you embody trust, you become safe for the future to land. The reason many do not receive what they ask for is not because they are unworthy, but because they have not become a stable container for what they seek. The field does not deliver to the uncertain, not because it withholds, but because uncertainty scrambles the signal. But trust stabilizes it. Trust says, I may not know the path, but I know the outcome. I may not see the full picture, but I walk like it is already mine. I do not need the clock. I do not need the proof. I am the proof. This is the essence of divine alignment. You stop managing the universe. You stop checking for updates. You stop begging for signs. You simply walk, not as a beggar, but as a bearer of truth. There was a craftsman named Doran whose hands built sacred instruments. One day, a stranger offered to take his creations to a distant land to be sold. Doran had no contract, no assurance, no guarantees. But something in his spirit whispered yes. So he trusted. And for weeks he heard nothing. People mocked his faith. "You gave everything to a ghost," they said. But Doran remained unmoved. And on the 33rd day, a caravan returned not just with gold but with letters, songs, stories. His instruments had healed the sick, united feuding villages, created joy where there was silence. It wasn't luck. It was alignment. And alignment is activated by trust. Trust is not passive. It is energetically creative. It doesn't sit still and hope it radiates. It reorganizes your field. It sharpens your intuition. It aligns your inner world so completely that the outer world adjusts without resistance. When you trust, you stop chasing. You stop doubting. You stop fragmenting your power. You become whole. And wholeness is irresistible to the field. This is the secret. Trust is the shortest distance between you and the life you desire. Because trust does not slow you down, it removes the noise. It untangles your path. It clears the fog. It collapses timelines. When you live from trust, your steps become guided. Your detours become divine. Your pauses become protection. Your delays become recalibration. Because trust is not linear. It is exponential. And the field is always listening for it. So the question is not, how do I make it happen faster? The question is, am I walking as the one who knows it is already done? Because if you were certain, truly certain, how would you breathe? How would you move? How would you sleep? How would you treat this moment? Let your life answer that. And if the answer is not yet congruent, then come home. Return to the root of it all. Not more force. Not more doing, just more trust. Because trust is the frequency of those who remember where they came from. It is the posture of the soul that knows. I am not asking for permission. I am remembering what is mine. And when you walk like that, everything comes closer. To build practice, close your eyes and whisper, I choose trust. Say it again, not as hope, but as a decree. Feel it land in your belly. Let it echo in your breath. Now, ask yourself, if I truly trusted, what would I no longer do? What would I no longer chase, explain, or fear? What would I do instead? Write it down. Choose one action today that is a trust signal to the universe. Something small but sacred. Then do it with full presence. Let the field read your frequency. Let your walk say what your words no longer need to. Because when you trust, you accelerate. Without speed, without noise, only with truth. Part 2. Trust is how you collapse time. Time is not a fixed thing. It does not move equally for everyone. It stretches for the anxious. It stalls for the doubting. It loops for the unsure. But for the one who trusts truly, deeply, and fully, time collapses. What once seemed distant begins to draw near. What once felt unreachable becomes tangible. Not because the future sped up, but because the energy finally cleared for it to arrive. Time, you see, is not just measured in hours, or days, it is measured in alignment. The more aligned you are with your soul's knowing, the faster life organizes around you. And nothing brings you into alignment more powerfully than trust. Trust is the energetic accelerator of reality. It folds space between you and what you seek. It erases delay born from resistance. It signals to the quantum field, there is no separation, I am already there. And when the field hears that, it responds. The need to control is what slows you down. The need to figure it all out, to micromanage the journey, to fix outcomes before they occur. These are the weights tied to your ankles as you try to run. But when you trust, you drop the weight. You walk freely, openly, faithfully, and suddenly, life rushes to meet you. Not because it was slow before, but because your energy was too loud, too scattered, too hesitant to recognize what was already at the door. To collapse time is not to escape the human experience, it is to harmonize with the divine rhythm already orchestrating your reality. The universe is not linear, it is layered, and your trust is the key that opens shortcuts hidden beneath logic. There was once a man named Harun who dreamt of traveling the world to share stories of peace. He spent 10 years waiting for the right contacts, the right funding, the right moment. But one day, he surrendered not in frustration, but in trust. He said, "If I am meant to serve, I will be carried." He booked a single one-way ticket with no itinerary. Within 3 months, he had spoken in 5 countries. He met leaders he could never have accessed before. Doors flew open not because he forced them, but because his trust unlocked a different dimension of timing. This is what few understand. The field is not just mapping where you're going, it's mapping how you feel while going. Desperation extends the timeline. Certainty contracts it. Resistance creates loops. Trust creates flow. And trust does not require understanding. It requires permission. Permission to let go. Permission to be guided. Permission to walk in the dark and believe that light is already at your feet. You collapse time the moment you stop needing the clock to validate you. You collapse time the moment you say, "I am ready," and mean it not as demand, but as invitation. You collapse time the moment you shift from waiting for the miracle to being the one who knows it's already unfolding. Because the quantum field does not function through delay. Delay is an illusion born from energetic contradiction. When what you want and who you're being are not yet synchronized, life feels like it's stuck. But the moment you embody what you've asked for, the moment you live as the receiver, as the carrier, as the fulfilled, time folds into you. And what seemed years away appears in weeks. What seemed far becomes near. What seemed lost returns as if it never left. But make no mistake, this is not about forcing quick results. This is about embodying the frequency that bends reality. And that frequency is trust. It is the same frequency carried by the great mystics, the quiet sages, the children who laugh before answers, the artists who create before they are understood. They all walk with a knowing, not arrogance, not entitlement, but reverence. Trust is a sacred current running through their spine. You can feel it when someone carries it. They move differently, speak differently, breathe differently. Their presence softens the air around them. They are not hurried, but they are always in motion. They are not loud, but they are always heard. They are not seeking, but everything seeks them. Why? Because trust makes you a match for what exists beyond doubt. And what exists beyond doubt is everything. There was a healer named Lucia who had visions of leading global retreats, yet every time she tried to launch, things fell apart. So she stopped launching, she stopped pushing, she stopped planning. She began walking daily with the presence of someone already booked, already trusted, already known. She gave thanks for the people on their way. She wrote letters to future clients she had not yet met. She spoke to them as if they were already listening. And they were. Within months, invitations poured in, from places she had never visited, from people she had never spoken to. Her trust collapsed the time between idea and arrival, because her belief created the bridge. And so can yours. The field does not operate on your calendar, it operates on your certainty. And certainty comes not from control, but from connection. When you are connected to the truth of your becoming, you do not rush, you do not force, you remember. And in that remembrance, time yields. Because time is not your master. It is your mirror. To build practice, sit quietly and place one hand over your heart, the other over your belly. Breathe deeply and ask, where am I still trying to control the timeline? Feel into it. Then whisper aloud, I release the clock. I collapse time through trust. I am already where I belong. Let these words settle. Feel the tension dissolve. And then, visualize your desire arriving not in the future, but now. Breathe into it. Let your body recognize it. Feel the field respond, because it always does. Chapter 9. Identity is the Gateway. Part 1. You can only receive what you believe you are. The universe does not give you what you want. It gives you what you are. And what you are is not determined by your intention alone, it is determined by your identity. Identity is not just the story you tell. It is the frequency you live from, the baseline you carry into every breath, the silent script running beneath your thoughts and actions. You may ask for abundance, but if your identity still whispers, I'm not the one who gets chosen, then the field will mirror that, not because it is cruel, but because it is exact. Identity is the gateway through which all manifestations flow. It is the filter that shapes the quality, timing, and tone of every outcome. Your life is not a result of random forces or external interference. It is the unfolding echo of your own self-concept. And that self-concept is powerful, not because it is permanent, but because it is magnetic. Every thought you think is translated by the field through the language of who you believe yourself to be. This is why affirmations only work when they are congruent. If you declare, I am wealthy, but carry the identity of someone who has always been overlooked, underpaid, or underestimated, the field is not confused. It simply reflects the dominant signal. And the dominant signal is not the loudest thought, it is the deepest belief. You must understand, the universe is not resisting you. It is obeying the blueprint you've installed, and that blueprint is written in the language of identity. Until you shift it, everything else remains a performance. So ask yourself now, honestly and without defense, who do I believe I am? Not who I want to be. Not who I tell the world I am, but who I am when no one is watching. Am I the one who always struggles just before the breakthrough? Am I the one who gets close but not quite? Am I the one who others pass by? Or am I the one who life flows toward? Am I the one who things work out for? Am I the one who walks with unseen support? You cannot receive what you do not believe you are. You may desire love, but if you see yourself as unlovable, you will unconsciously repel the very thing you seek. Not because you are broken, but because your field is broadcasting a contradiction. The field does not punish, it reflects, always, faithfully. And it reflects not what you say, but what you live. There was once a man named Ari who had all the outer tools of success: skills, education, connections, but life seemed to resist him at every turn. One night, in deep frustration, he asked, "What is still in my way?" And a memory surfaced. As a child, he had once overheard a teacher call him just another lost boy. Without realizing it, he had built a life trying to prove her wrong, and in doing so, anchored that identity even deeper. Lost boy. It had become a silent mantra, a hidden identity, and the field responded to it perfectly: confusion, delay, wandering. So he did something radical. He rewrote the story. Each morning, before doing anything else, he looked in the mirror and whispered, I am the one who is always guided. I am the one who always arrives. He repeated it not as a tactic, but as an act of remembrance. And slowly, the story shifted. He became someone the field could recognize as found. as centered, as chosen, and the world moved to meet him. This is how identity works. It is not a costume, it is a vibration, one that seeps into every interaction, every decision, every tone of voice. It is not changed through effort alone. It is changed through choice, through decision, through repetition, through embodiment. You must begin asking yourself, what would someone who already has this believe about themselves? And then, what beliefs must I release in order to match that version of me? Because identity is not something you wait to receive. It is something you decide to carry. Right now, not after the breakthrough, not after the manifestation. Now, when you shift your identity, you shift your entire timeline. Because the universe is not responding to your potential. It is responding to your posture. If you carry yourself like the one who is always on the outside, you will remain outside. If you walk as one who belongs, life opens doors before you knock. If you embody the energy of someone who trusts their value, the world reflects that value. This is not ego. This is not arrogance. This is sacred clarity. And sacred clarity is magnetic. There was a woman named Sophia who always dimmed her light in rooms where others shined. She called it humility, but deep down, it was fear. Fear of being seen, fear of being envied, fear of becoming too much. And so the universe reflected that muted attention, missed opportunities, forgotten gifts, until one morning she asked, "What if I lived as if I truly believed I was the one? Not the best, not above, but the chosen one for her unique path." And when she did, the world softened around her. People began to notice. Invitations appeared. Her presence grew not because she forced it, but because she finally matched it. And so will you. When you decide that you are no longer seeking permission, when you decide to wear the frequency of already worthy, already capable, already aligned, you don't become someone new. You remember who you've always been. And that remembrance becomes the identity the field can finally recognize. 1. Practice. Sit in stillness. Ask yourself without judgment, who do I still believe I am? Write down whatever comes. Then ask, is this identity creating the life I desire? If not, write a new one. Create a sentence that describes your chosen identity. One sentence only. Speak it aloud each morning. Not as performance, but as prophecy. Say it until your cells remember. Because when your identity shifts, the entire field reconfigures to match. Part 2. Becoming the one who it happens for. There are people who move through life as if the world is conspiring in their favor. They do not chase. They do not plead. They do not look over their shoulders in fear of missing the moment. They carry an invisible signature in energy that says, "It always works out for me." And somehow, it does. It is not because they are luckier. It is not because they were chosen in some secret lottery of fate. It is because they have chosen an identity, the identity of the one who life works for, not in arrogance, not in delusion, but in trust, in alignment, in unwavering inner agreement. You can feel it when they walk into a room, not because they're louder, but because they're clearer. The universe recognizes them, not by name, but by vibration, and it responds in kind. Because the field is always listening for consistency, not consistency in results, but consistency in belief. You see, life doesn't just respond to what you believe about itself. Life responds to what you believe about your place in it. If you believe that you are always just a little bit late, you'll miss doors by seconds. If you believe that you're always being tested, life will feel like a trial. If you believe that you must struggle to earn what's good, your blessings will arrive heavy and hard-earned. But if you truly believe that you are the one for whom it works, the field listens differently. It begins rearranging itself to match that script. It begins flowing, aligning, revealing, with the rhythm of your inner certainty. The most powerful shift you can ever make is not changing what you do, but changing who you are in the doing, because everything you touch is influenced by your internal identity. The way you write the email, the way you respond to silence, the way you interpret a delay, the way you receive a compliment, the way you carry your body when no one's watching, all of it speaks on your behalf. Identity is not about what's in your mind, it's what you embody in your baseline energy. And the most potent identity you can step into is this: I am the one who it happens for. Not in comparison, not in competition, but as a personal declaration of truth. There was once a woman named Isolde who used to say, "Things never go my way." She said it like a joke, but the field heard it like a prayer. Life reflected it with eerie precision, the flight delayed, the check lost, the job just out of reach. Until one day, in a moment of reflection, she heard her own words in a recording. It stunned her. She hadn't realized how often she spoke as the rejected one, as the one life bypasses, and something within her cracked. From that day forward, she replaced that phrase with one new sentence. "Of course it works for me." She said it under her breath, in the car, in the mirror, in the silence before sleep. At first, it felt like fiction, but soon her energy began to shift, her shoulders relaxed, her breath deepened, her decisions became bolder, and the field responded. The job came, the flight was upgraded, the check arrived early. Nothing changed in the outer world, until everything did, because she became the one who it happens for. This is not magic, it is resonance. The field is not punishing you when it delays. It is simply waiting for you to become a match for what you've asked for. And being a match is not about perfection, it's about energetic clarity. You cannot walk as the one who's cursed and receive the blessing. You cannot speak as the one who always misses out and step into favor. You must choose the identity that aligns with what you're calling in. So ask yourself now, if I believed it always worked for me, how would I move today? What would I stop explaining? What would I stop apologizing for? What would I walk toward without flinching? When you embody that energy, even in small ways, you begin to shift the tides. Not because you are pushing, but because you are matching. And the field cannot deny the one who has claimed their place with calm certainty. There was a man named Cohen who once lived by probability. He calculated every step. He measured risks. He carried backup plans for backup plans. He was brilliant, but exhausted. Then he met an old teacher in a temple who said only one thing: "What if your new metric is because I am?" Cohen didn't understand at first, but over time he began testing it. Why will this work? Because I am. Why is this client coming? Because I am. Why am I safe here? Because I am. He stopped measuring odds. He started embodying truth. And the truth was not external. It was identity-based. He began moving like the one who life supports not as a trick, but as a shift. His world responded with effortless momentum. This is the quiet secret of powerful people. They don't push. They decide. And from that decision, they align. And from that alignment, the field obeys. Not out of obligation, but out of resonance. You are not here to be the exception. You are here to be the example. The example of someone who finally stops chasing and chooses to become the one it happens for. 1 sec. Practice. Close your eyes. Whisper aloud, "I am the one it happens for." Repeat it 3 times, slowly. Feel it land. Now walk across your room, your space, Your street is that version of you. Observe your body. Feel your breath. Watch how your mind reacts. Each time you feel doubt creep in, return to this phrase. Of course it's working, because I am the one it happens for. Let this become your new baseline. Let it write a new story in your cells. Let it echo through your choices. And watch the field risen not in resistance, but in recognition. Because now, it knows who you are. Chapter 10. The Mirror Responds to Devotion. Part 1. What you worship, you become. Every moment of your life, you are worshiping something. Not in a religious sense, not with temples or candles or chants, but with your attention, with your repetition, with your inner gaze. Worship is simply focused devotion. It is the thing you return to again and again, the idea you repeat, the story you believe, the energy you serve, whether you realize it or not. And the universe, the field, is a mirror. It does not reflect what you wish for. It reflects what you return to most often, what you dwell upon, what you linger in, what you rehearse, what you emotionally feed. Because devotion is nourishment, and what you nourish grows. If you worship fear, you grow more fear. If you worship doubt, your reality will echo it faithfully. If you worship lack, your field will contract around you to protect the scarcity you've made sacred. But if you worship abundance, abundance begins to shape your days. If you worship peace, peace will flood your breath. If you worship truth, truth will surround you like an atmosphere. It has always been this simple. You become what you behold. You receive what you respect. You reflect what you return to. Devotion is not about force, it is about focus. The most magnetic people on earth are not the ones who try the hardest. They are the ones who are the most devoted to the vibration they wish to live in. They are married to their clarity. They are wedded to their vision. They are monogamous to their truth. They are not faithful to circumstances. They are faithful to frequency. And the field responds accordingly. There was a woman named Alina who wanted to live in divine ease. She said it. She spoke of it. She wrote about it. But her energy remained tethered to anxiety. She returned to worry like a worn blanket. She rehearsed it in the background of her mind every hour, until one morning, in meditation, she heard a clear inner voice say, "What if ease is a god, and you've been worshiping chaos?" It startled her. She saw how often she had bowed to tension, how often she had lit incense at the altar of fear, how much she had served the rhythm of striving. From that day forward, she began to treat ease as sacred. She woke slowly. She thanked the silence. She paused between tasks. She honored stillness with her full body. And life began to shift not with a bang, but with a grace she had never known, because she had changed her devotion. This is what many do not see. Your reality is shaped not by what you do once, but by what you return to daily. Every thought you repeat is a form of worship. Every state you normalize is a devotion. Every emotional loop you enter again and again is a prayer being answered. The mirror of the universe is not moral. It does not reward the good and punish the bad. It simply reflects your most consistent offering. So the question becomes, what am I worshiping with my energy? Am I giving my attention to what is falling apart, or to what is rising? Am I feeding the timeline where it never works? Or the one where everything aligns? Because wherever you place your sacred gaze becomes your life. And you do not need rituals to be devoted. Your thoughts are rituals. Your emotions are rituals. Your choices are rituals. When you pour love into your food preparation, that is devotion. When you speak kindly to yourself, even when no one hears. That is devotion. When you pause to breathe before reacting, that is devotion. When you write to your future self, as if they are already here, that is devotion. And the field listens to every one of them. It sees the direction of your loyalty, and it multiplies it. If you are loyal to your limitations, they become your fortress. If you are loyal to your vision, it becomes your foundation. This is the law. This is the mirror. And it cannot betray you, can only reflect what you've crowned with your attention. There was a young man named Taro who could not figure out why nothing was landing. He was skilled, he was intelligent, but every opportunity evaporated before it bloomed. One evening, journaling beside a lake, he asked his higher self, "Why does it always collapse?" The answer came, "Because you trust collapse more than completion." He wept. He saw how often he rehearsed endings before beginnings even matured. He recognized how he had married disappointment, long ago an old survival pattern. And so, for the first time in his adult life, he made a new vow. He wrote, "I am devoted to completion. I am loyal to wholeness. I am faithful to flourishing." He taped the note to his mirror. Every morning, he read it aloud. And slowly, the mirror began to reflect it. His clients stayed longer. His projects moved to fruition. His relationships deepened, not because of what he did, but because of what he bowed to. Devotion is not what you feel when it's easy. It is what you choose when nothing has yet arrived. It is the fire you keep lit, even when the night is long. It is the truth you hold, even when the evidence is quiet. It is the loyalty you offer to the version of you who is already free. And when you choose devotion over distraction, the mirror becomes magic. Not because it changed, but because you did. To build practice, sit quietly with yourself and ask this question: what am I truly devoted to? Not what you want to be. Not what you say you are. But what you return to again and again. Write it down. Then ask, is this devotion building the life I want? If not, choose a new object of worship. Choose peace. Choose abundance. Choose enoughness. Choose worth. And return to it daily. Not as a task. As a sacred agreement, let your life become an altar. And your presence, the offering. The mirror will respond. It always does. Part 2. Loyalty to the higher timeline. There is a version of you that already exists in perfect alignment. A version that walks with grace, speaks with certainty, creates with ease, receives with reverence. This is not fantasy. It is frequency. It is not a goal, it is a timeline. And the question is not whether this higher timeline is real. The question is, are you loyal to it? Because every day, with every thought, action, reaction, emotion, and breath, you are casting a vote, not just for what you desire, but for the version of you that is allowed to live. And most people are unknowingly loyal to the version of themselves that struggles, that delays, that doubts. They are devoted to their fear, faithful to their limitations, committed to their familiar pain. But the mirror of the universe does not know the difference between what you want and what you serve. It only reflects your energetic fidelity. It listens to your rituals of loyalty. It watches what you protect, what you justify, what you make room for when you say you're trying to change. So if you want to change your life, you must change your loyalties. You must become faithful to your expansion. You must become married to your becoming. You must walk each day as the one who no longer serves their history, but instead serves their destiny. And that is not always easy, because loyalty to the higher timeline often means leaving behind the version of you that once felt safe. It means releasing the identity that kept you hidden. It means breaking the pacts you made with unworthiness. It means disappointing those who loved your smaller self. It means being faithful to what you haven't yet seen, but what you already know. Loyalty is not about being flawless. It is about being unshakable in your return. There was a woman named Karina who had a vision of becoming a teacher of divine truth, but each time she moved toward it, fear would whisper, "You're not ready." And she would turn back, not because she lacked the wisdom, but because she was loyal to the version of herself who waited to be chosen. Until one day, she asked herself, "What if I just decided to walk as the one who was already chosen?" She began waking earlier. She created sacred time for silence. She spoke to herself with tenderness. She dressed each day as if her future self had chosen the outfit. She stopped arguing for her limitations and started agreeing with her becoming. Her reality caught up fast. Opportunities found her. Books poured out of her. Students appeared from nowhere, not because the world changed, but because her allegiance changed. The universe doesn't withhold your higher timeline, it waits for you to match it, to serve it, to build your hours around it, to let it become the new center of gravity for your being. Loyalty is not loud. It's quiet. It's the decision to not spiral again today. It's the moment you rewrite the story mid-sentence. It's the breath you take when the fear rises and you soften instead of shrink. It's the choice to respond from your healed self, not your wounded one. These moments are not small. These moments are votes, and the field counts every one. You collapse timelines not through force, but through fidelity. You shift reality not by controlling outcomes, but by becoming consistent in your frequency. You embody the higher path by no longer negotiating with the lower one. There is no halfway loyalty. There is no partial resonance. There is only coherence or contradiction. And the mirror reflects accordingly. There was a man named Ezra who struggled with inconsistency. He knew what he wanted, but he betrayed it daily. He avoided silence. He postponed truth. He numbed his knowing. And yet, he kept asking, "Why hasn't it happened yet?" Until a mentor said, "Because you visit your higher self, but you do not live with him." That night, Ezra made a vow. He wrote on a small piece of paper, "I am no longer loyal to versions of me I've outgrown." He read it each morning. He acted like it was a contract with the divine. And it was. Because the moment you refuse to serve contradiction, the universe has no reason to delay. It moves to meet your unwavering signal. The higher timeline does not resist you. It invites you. It waits with open arms, ready to mirror your devotion. But it cannot do that if your loyalty wavers every time the old life knocks. To live in alignment is to build rituals of reverence around your becoming. To walk with your future self in your posture, your speech, your silence. To treat your destiny like a lover never ghosting, never forgetting, never betraying it for fleeting comfort. You become magnetic when you become consistent. Not perfect consistent, because the field does not respond to your highest intention. It responds to your dominant devotion. So ask yourself now, what am I still loyal to that no longer serves me? And then ask, what would my higher self have me honor instead? That is your sacred pivot. That is your return. That is the mirror's cue to shift. 1 sec. Practice. Write a vow to your higher timeline. Just one sentence. Not a plea, not a wish. A vow. Read it aloud each morning for the next 7 days. And let your actions honor it. If doubt arises, breathe. Return to your vow. If fear speaks, listen, but do not serve it. If old patterns emerge, witness them, and then walk anyway. Because the universe is not waiting for a perfect version of you. It's waiting for your loyalty to the one who already exists inside you. Chapter 11. Sacred Responsibility, the Energy You Leave Behind. Part 1. Every room remembers you. Every space you enter becomes a living witness to your energy. Your words may fade, your actions may be forgotten, but the vibration you leave behind remains like incense, lingering in a sacred hall long after the flame has gone out. Energy is not a metaphor. It is the imprint of your being, and you are leaving it everywhere you go. The moment you speak, the room listens, not to your language, but to your essence. When you walk through a doorway, you are not just carrying your body, you are carrying your field. Your field precedes you. It speaks before your mouth opens. It touches before your hands reach. It announces your consciousness like a soft drumbeat beneath the fabric of life. You are always broadcasting something, always translating your state into a signal, and every moment you are either adding to the harmony of a space or you are disturbing it. There is no neutral. You are either raising the frequency around you or contributing to its contraction. This is sacred responsibility, not in the heavy, guilt-ridden sense of burden, but in the luminous, liberating sense of awareness. The awakened soul walks with reverence, not because they are perfect, but because they remember. They remember that every interaction is a portal, every glance is an offering, every word is a brushstroke on the canvas of creation, and every space they touch becomes an altar and echo chamber of their unconsciousness. You don't need a title to be a leader. You don't need an audience to be a transmitter. You already are. Right now, your vibration is leaving a trail. Every place you've ever been still holds your echo. Every person you've encountered still carries a fragment of your field. This is why the most powerful spiritual work begins with this question: what energy do I leave behind? When I exit a room, does it breathe deeper or hold tension? When I finish a conversation, does the person feel nourished or drained? When I walk away, does my absence feel like stillness or static? You do not need to be loud to be powerful. You need to be intentional. There was once a man named Benoit who never saw himself as influential. He was soft-spoken, reserved. Yet when he retired from his small-town post office, the town held a gathering that overflowed with tears and stories. Not about grand gestures, but about how people felt better in his presence. One woman said, "He never tried to fix me. He just stood next to me, and somehow I remembered who I was." Benoit never preached, never taught, but he had become an environment, an atmosphere, a vibration, and his legacy lived in the way people sat taller after standing beside him. This is the invitation: to live as one who leaves clarity behind, as one whose silence heals, as one whose presence uplifts not by effort, but by coherence. The energy you carry becomes a blueprint that others unconsciously reference. Your calm teaches them what's possible. Your groundedness reminds them of their roots. Your joy gives them permission to expand. You do not need to explain yourself. You need to transmit yourself. And transmission does not come from your thoughts. It comes from your alignment. You leave behind not what you say, but what you embody. So, if you want to change the world, start with the invisible world you carry into each space, not by trying to impress, but by remembering, I am responsible for the vibration I leave behind. There was a woman named Evelyn who used to rush through her days, efficient, driven, successful, but exhausted, until one day, in the hallway of her home, her young son said, "Mom, you always bring the storm with you." It stopped her cold. She hadn't realized how much of her stress had become an ambient frequency in the home. She was filling rooms with urgency, even when she wasn't speaking. That night, she sat in meditation and asked, "What energy would love leave behind?" The answer was simple: warmth, stillness, permission to breathe. From that day forward, Evelyn began a new practice. Before entering any room, she paused. She touched her heart. She breathed. She set an intention, not for performance, but for presence. And slowly, the rooms began to change. Her family softened. Her colleagues became more creative. Clients opened up because she was no longer just arriving, she was bringing something sacred with her. This is the truth. Everywhere you go, you are either polluting or purifying the air. You are either echoing your wounds or radiating your healing. You are either extending your peace or projecting your chaos. And this is not about blame. It's about power. You get to decide what you carry. You get to decide what you broadcast. You get to decide what your footsteps mean. Let your energy become a prayer that lingers. Let your presence become a benediction. Let your absence be felt as gratitude, not relief. You were not born to be noise. You were born to be resonance, to be the one who changes the atmosphere without effort, without force imply by being whole. 1. Practice. Today, pause before entering any room, any meeting, any store, any home, any conversation. Close your eyes and ask, what energy do I want to leave behind here? Choose one word, just one. Peace, grace, courage, warmth, openness, light. Let that word become your frequency. Then enter, not with performance, but with quiet presence. At the end of the day, reflect. Notice how your presence changed the shape of space. Not because you demanded, but because you remembered. You are always leaving something behind. Let it be light. Part 2. The legacy of your frequency. You will be remembered by your frequency long after your name fades. Long after your words are forgotten and your photos gather dust, something of you will remain in the field not as a memory, but as a tone, a signal, a vibration that continues to ripple quietly through the lives you touched, the spaces you entered, and the timelines you influenced. This is your real legacy. Not the titles you carried, not the things you owned, not the surface markers of success the world applauds, but the energy you lived in, the emotional architecture of your presence, the invisible trail you left through the choices you made, the silence you held, the love you transmitted without explanation. Legacy is not some far-off concept to be worried over in your later years. It is being built now minute by minute through the frequency you normalize, through the emotional climate you contribute to each day, through what people feel after encountering you. It's the feeling they carry in their body when they think of you, the breath they take when you walk into the room or the one they release when you walk out. This is not to place pressure on you. It is to awaken you to your power. You are not just a being who exists. You are a tuning fork for the spaces around you. You modulate the room. You inform the moment. You either raise the atmosphere or deepen its confusion. You either become an anchor for coherence or an amplifier of static. And every day, you choose. You choose through your attention, through your beliefs, through your breath, through your tone, through the way you treat the unseen moments, the ones with no witness but your soul. Because it is not your grand gestures that shape your energetic legacy, it is your consistency. The small, sacred decisions to respond from your center rather than from your wound. The quiet moments when you listen deeply instead of interrupting. The softness you allow when the world expects hardness. The presence you hold when others reach for performance. These are the moments that matter. These are the frequencies that echo. There was a woman named Mira who lived in a modest village, unknown to the world, never praised by the masses. Yet generations after her passing, children still spoke of her warmth. Elders still whispered her wisdom. Her home, long empty, felt like an altar. not because of wealth or fame, but because of frequency. She had made peace her language, stillness her gift, devotion her posture, and the field remembered. It always remembers. Because energy is not forgotten. It is recorded in the subtle realms. The air holds it, the land carries it, the people who crossed your path absorb it into their nervous systems. And when your frequency is aligned with love, your legacy becomes living light, not a monument, but a melody, not a statue, but a sanctuary, a vibration that people feel without knowing why, that they reach for when they forget themselves, that they return to when they seek safety. This is sacred responsibility, to understand that the life you live now is planting seeds in realms beyond time. And you do not need to be famous to leave a profound legacy. You simply need to become clear. Clear in your intention. Clear in your alignment. Clear in your devotion to the field you are shaping. There was once a man named Elias who never said much. He wasn't eloquent. He wasn't charismatic. But when he hugged you, something inside you remembered peace. He didn't need to convince. He carried presence, and that was his gift. He didn't preach, radiated. He didn't dominate, he calibrated. And decades after he passed, people still felt him in quiet moments of awe, in the hush between prayers, in the calm before breakthroughs. He had become a frequency memory, a still point in the collective field. You too are shaping a memory. Right now, the way you carry your pain becomes a blueprint for others. The way you resolve your fear becomes a map for those who walk behind you. The way you soften intention becomes a compass for generations unseen. This is what it means to live as an ancestor of the future, not just genetically, but energetically. To live with the awareness that you are broadcasting a signal that will be felt beyond your lifetime. So ask yourself now, not with pressure, but with reverence. What frequency am I leaving behind? Is it coherence or confusion? Is it grace or guardedness? Is it peace or panic? And then ask, what frequency would I love to be remembered by? Let your life become a living answer to that question. Not through perfection, but through daily devotion. Let your breath become a prayer. Let your silence become a sanctuary. Let your presence become a permission slip for others to return to themselves. Because that is a legacy no fire can burn, no time can erase, no distance can dilute. You are not here to leave monuments. You are here to leave mirrors, vibrational reflections that help others remember who they are. And the most powerful mirror you can offer is your embodied truth. Your wholeness. Your peace. Your knowing. These things outlive you. These things become fields of memory, healing, and realignment for everyone who steps into the space where you once stood. Let that space be sacred. Let it be a sanctuary. Let it be home. To build practice, close your eyes. Place one hand over your chest, the other on your stomach. Breathe deeply. Then ask, what frequency do I want the world to feel after I've left the room? What do I want others to remember, not about what I said, but how I made them feel? Let the answer come. Write it down. Then make it your daily vow, a living commitment. Let every word, every silence, every breath, every exit reflect that vow. Because your legacy is not built tomorrow. It is lived now, in your presence, in your energy, in your sacred, invisible offering to the world.